Good evening, sir.
हाँ जी, good evening, Dr. Afzal.
How are you, sir?
Very fine जी, thank you.
Okay. Shall we start, sir?
Yes, please, yes.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, dear participants, respected Japinder Singh ji. Uh, Today we have Mr. S. Japinder Singh. As an expert with us. He is basically the Chief Judicial Magistrate cum Secretary DLSA, and he is a pioneering in the just judicial district legal services in Jalandhar for violence against women, and actively involved in women's right also. So he is very renowned person. I think there is no need of the introduction. So, sir, I would like to request you with these words, you please start your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Afzal. First of all, I wish very good afternoon to all the participants. Um I'm thankful to the women's cell of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, NIT Jalandhar, who have given me this valuable opportunity of interacting with the participants of this program. This opportunity affords me the chance to further my official agenda as well as uh, to interact with you all on a topic which I personally feel is very important and needs attention of the authorities as well as the civil society. As I have seen in the details of the program, many learned educationists and scholars have already dwelt upon the issue during the last few days. Since I am a part of the judiciary, and to be more specific, of the wing of judiciary which is concerned with providing legal services, with redressal of grievances, and with providing support to those sections of society which are generally marginalized and whose voice is not heard by all. I think it would be proper for me to stick to the practical aspect of how the problems which land upon our table uh, they are dealt with and what all are the practical options with a victim of domestic violence. As we all know, right to equality is granted, right against discrimination as well are granted by the Constitution of India as fundamental rights of every individual. Constitution specifically provides that there shall be no discrimination on various grounds, and gender is one of the grounds on which the Constitution bars any discrimination. We are also well aware that in the wake of pandemic COVID-19, there was a spurt, you could say, a huge increase in the matters of domestic violence as well as in the matters of violence against and abuse of kids. Factors we all understand by now, those have been dissected in detail in the media, especially in the print media, where we have all known that people have suffered losses in businesses, they have lost their livelihoods, or there have been a considerable diminution of their earnings, and also the strict confinement in the initial stages of the pandemic, during which people were unable to move outside, and the situation was ripe for aggravation of conflicts where they already existed. And in such a situation, the domestic violence, especially the violence against women and the kids, that increased, and all the authorities, including the legal services authorities, the National Commission for Women, the state commissions for women, the courts in general, the police authorities started receiving large number of complaints, largely through electronic means or telephonically. This fact was not confined to India alone, rather it was a global factor, and the United Nations also took notice of it to the extent that the United Nations declared the incidence of domestic violence during COVID-19 as a shadow pandemic, signifying that this was also a problem of a pandemic proportion which was following in the wake of pandemic COVID-19. So given this challenge, there were various responses, there were various innovative measures which were being adopted around the globe. To talk of the few, France had a plan where I'm not sure whether it was France or Spain, it was a European country, either of the two, where they advertised that any woman, if she reaches any store, any pharmacy, any chemist store, or any other store for that matter, and asks for mask 19, the pharmacy or the shopkeeper was required to understand that this lady was a victim of domestic violence and she needs assistance, and he was supposed to alert the authorities. United Kingdom, England passed the specific order that any lady venturing out of the house during the lockdown to approach the authorities to seek redressal for the violence faced by her inside the domestic settings would not be considered to violate the rule, would not be considered to violate the executive direction of remaining inside the houses. In one of the European countries, arrangements were made in hotels for putting up the victims of domestic violence as they were increasing exponentially and they could not be contained, could not be sheltered otherwise. So these were the various responses. There were many others, different innovative measures initiated by various countries. And during the initial days, I had noticed that Honorable the High Court of Jammu and Kashmir had directed the judicial as well as the police authorities to proceed immediately on a complaint of domestic violence and not to ignore it. Even Honorable Delhi High Court ordered that though the courts were working in a restricted mode and they were dealing only with urgent criminal matters on the criminal side, direction was given that matters of domestic violence shall also be considered, and deservingly so. They shall be considered urgent criminal matter and shall be dealt with immediately. So slowly the pattern set in all the courts where domestic violence was considered an urgent matter, and the courts, while working in a restrictive manner, started taking up these complaints. Even at DLSA Jalandhar, we received several complaints and we intervened, and whatever required action was appropriate, that action was taken. I would like to clarify here that from the practical experience that we have gained, it is not that every report of domestic violence is only one-sided in a way that the lady is the victim and the man or the male in a domestic relationship is the aggressor. Many times it is a complex family situation. There are many factors which are operating simultaneously, and it happens that though we say that there is a complaint by a lady of domestic violence, and when we say domestic violence, we all know that its purport is very broad. All types of violences, be it physical, be it emotional, be it economical, they are included in this expression. So many a times we find that even the males are suffering the same. And it is not that the female alone is being subjected to violence. When there is a problem in the family, everyone has to suffer. We all know that very well. So the first step that we try to take in the district legal services is to identify whether the problem is a domestic situation or it is actually an aggravated situation where the lady is facing far more, you could say, adverse consequences than the male person who is alleged to be, creating problem for her. So in cases where we find that it's a domestic situation and we cannot clearly say that one is suffering more than the other, we try to take it in that light as a matrimonial dispute or as a domestic dispute, and we try to intervene by way of trying to counsel and bring about conciliation between the parties, or to try to settle it through mediation. While in other cases where we find that some serious physical injury has been inflicted, or after consulting the parties, we are of the view that yes, there is a serious issue of some violence being inflicted on the lady, be it physical or mental or emotional, then we go a step further, that is of filing a complaint of domestic violence in the court. Here I would like to stress upon the fact that the primary function of the district legal services authorities is to provide legal advice and legal aid free of cost to any person who approaches the office. When we say legal advice, it can be any person who can reach the office and ask for advice on a legal matter or regarding the grievance and how to get redressal, how to get a solution for that problem. By legal aid, we mean services of a counsel for conducting a judicial proceeding free of cost. For receiving that legal aid, person has to be qualified as per the criteria given under Legal Services Authorities Act of 1987. That act provides us several categories, and women are one such category who are entitled to receive legal aid in case they need to proceed judicially. They need to file a complaint or a petition in the court. So we provide legal aid in deserving cases and get the petitions filed before the courts. This is how practically the matters are dealt with when it reaches the desk of the DLSA. During the pandemic, we have been trying to create awareness amongst the civil society, amongst the people in general, and also through the means of various educational institutions by conducting webinars, as physical working was curtailed and was not possible, was not safe. We have been trying to convey the message that any person who is in distress, he has various options. One, getting into contact with legal services authorities. The simplest way for which is our toll-free number, which is 1968. 1968, the toll-free number of the legal services authorities. This is for Punjab. It can be dialed from anywhere in Punjab, and the person can seek advice, seek aid, and in case the person is in a distressful situation where she cannot herself approach the authorities, we can depute our people, the paralegal volunteers, to aid her, to help her out. And another option for a person in distress that we have been trying to popularize is that Sakhi one-stop centers have been made functional in all the districts of Punjab. These centers have come up under a largely centrally funded scheme, where you have a place where a lady in distress, a lady who is facing domestic violence or who has been subjected to some crime and has nowhere to go, seeks immediate help and shelter. she can be provided, first of all, the shelter, and second, she gets immediate medical assistance. These Sakhi one-stop centers are located in the district civil hospitals of all the districts in the state, and therefore uh, the medical help is readily available. The medical authorities have been directed under this Sakhi one-stop center scheme to depute an official to ensure that medical help is provided to them. And then we also depute our paralegal volunteers and retainer advocates of district legal services authorities who visit these Sakhi one-stop centers regularly, and they get in touch with any victim who seeks shelter or who comes there for advice or assistance in any manner. So this is a very effective mechanism which we have been trying to popularize, and I think our efforts have borne success to a material extent, as there is a steady flow of applicants in the Sakhi one-stop center, and some really very grievous matters have come to light from there, and effective assistance has been provided to the ladies. So there is no denying the fact that domestic violence continues to exist even after the curtailments have been lifted and more uh, opening of the working is being ordered by the government. Uh, Domestic violence was always in existence even before the restrictions imposed during the lockdown. So even after the lifting of the restrictions, it continues to exist, and the phenomena is there to be dealt with. It is a big problem, and we need to, all the institutions, as well as the civil society, the organizations, they need to work in collaboration with each other, firstly, to create awareness, to tell the people that in case they are in a situation, how to seek redressal of their grievance, where to go to seek immediate help. And then we need to also sensitize the society so that these issues do not arise, and the number of such issues could be curtailed by sensitizing the society. So I would like to stress upon the fact that all the participants of this program may carry this message that the toll-free number 1968 of the DLSA, the Legal Services Authorities, may be popularized, and people should know it generally that Sakhi One Stop Center and the toll-free number of DLSA are the two ways of availing the relief on immediate basis in case they are facing any issue of domestic violence or of any crime or anything else. And toll-free number could be availed by any other person for any other purpose also, not only for the issue of domestic violence. So with these words, I would like to give rest to my words, and I would like to stop my presentation here, because I feel that if there are some practically oriented questions from the participants, those questions would guide me to more appropriate areas about which I can shed some light on the basis of my experience in this office. I thank you all with this, and I invite all the suggestions, all the questions which are there from the participants. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes, any participants, if you would like to ask something or you would like to discuss something? Yes, please. Upalabdhi Tyagi, okay, she is saying. We have few questions in the chat box.
Dr. Afzal, could you please read them out?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Uplabdhi
Please.
Tyagi. Okay, she's saying thank you, sir, for sharing your views with us. Then we have Uddeshya Singh. Sir, is domestic violence restricted to certain family?
See, so far as my experience as a judicial officer goes, I have been holding the court earlier. Now I am providing the legal services. I'm not deciding the cases. Domestic violence can never be a matter which is confined to certain sections of society. Domestic violence exists across all sections of society. The only difference is that where you have better education and better financial status, those people come out more to seek redressal of their grievances. They come out more to approach the authorities for seeking help. And in those sections of society where the income is low, the living standard is low, education is not there, I must say huge amounts of domestic violence is tolerated by the ladies day in and day out. And this is the most vulnerable section where approach of the authorities is very restricted. And this is where we try to intervene, and this is where the concept of legal aid is of the most help. Provided we can encourage these people, we can first locate these people and we can sensitize these people that how to go about seeking redressal of their grievances. So phenomena of domestic violence exists at all levels, and the way domestic violence is inflicted, those are also different. In well-to-do families, in educated families, so-called educated and so-called, financially stable families, even issue of, mental, psychological violence could be very grave, though there may not be any physical violence. And in the sections of society where you have low income and low education, there the psychological, mental, emotional issues may not be that much, as is the physical aspect of the violence. So, with these words, I think I have justified my reply to this question. Any further question, Dr. Afzal, please, if you could read out.
Yes, sir. Mrs. Atre, she is asking, thank you, sir, for a very good information on the subject. What is the percentage of false cases of domestic violence filed during the pandemic and percentage of violence against men roughly?
False cases of domestic violence and false cases under any other provision which a lady only is entitled to import have always been there. So try to fill the percentage. I think there has not been any violation of data where the courts have ultimately concluded that yes, this matter was false. And that may not be practically possible also because so many matters end up through conciliation, through mediation. But yes, there is a considerable number of false cases as well. And there is a considerable number of cases where men are, being victimized at the hands of the ladies. There are those cases also. So this is why I said that the first approach of the legal system, moreover in legal services authorities, is that to find out whether this case, whether the matter which has landed on our table as a complaint of domestic violence is actually a matter of lady being victimized, or it is a domestic situation, or the matter is totally otherwise, that it's a false complaint and the man is being victimized. So in those cases, we try to intervene through, the soft options that we have of counseling, of mediation, of bringing about conciliation between the parties. Yes, please. Next question.
Yes, Archana Singh, she is asking, how can we protect the rights of child in domestic violence is continuing?
Yes, it's a material question that where there is a child who is, on the crossroads in a situation where the parents or any other person is living in a domestic relationship within a family, they are in a situation which is not healthy. We all know that whenever there is a domestic violence or strife between the parents, it has a huge toll on the psychology, on the development of the child. More often than not, whenever there is a dispute between the parents, it involves so many angles. There is domestic violence, there is a complaint of cruelty under 498A of IPC. Then there is a petition for maintenance, and simultaneously there is a petition by either of the parents for custody of the child. So the child is literally being grinded in this situation. The mandate of law in the petitions under the Guardian and Wards Act, in the petitions filed by either of the parents seeking custody of the child, is that we are to go by what is in the best interest of the child. And where the matter has not yet reached the court, no formal petition has been filed. We just have a domestic situation and there is a kid involved in it. So it is best in case we are able to deal with that matter through mediation. I would like to take a few minutes to elaborate upon what is the process of mediation. Some of the participants may be aware, some of the participants may not be aware. Mediation is a formal process where we have a trained mediator who tries to talk to the two conflicting parties and try to bring them to a common platform which is acceptable to both. It is a voluntary process where party A and party B, who are conflicting with each other, would communicate with each other with the help of the mediator or through the mediator, and in case both are able to reach some conclusion which is acceptable to both of them, then that agreement is drawn. A matter lands into mediation when it is referred by the court. If a matter is pending in the court and either party requests or the court feels that it is appropriate to send this matter to mediation, the court makes a reference and the file is sent to the legal services authority of the district. So the secretary of the legal services authority, as I am working at the post, is the nodal officer of the mediation center, and we allot that matter to a mediator who talks to the parties and tries to bring about a compromise. Matrimonial disputes and domestic disputes are the best suited matters where mediation is tried and is often implemented with success. When the question of child is involved, we stress on this point. All the courts are asked to stress to the parties that it is best in case the matter is settled through mediation. Either the parties unite, conciliate, and agree to proceed further with their matrimonial life, or they reach commonly acceptable terms regarding separation, so that the strife is put to an end and it can be ensured that there is a minimal effect upon the psychology, upon the mental health, the psychological well-being of the child. So it is in this way that we try to ensure that the best interest of the child is protected. And in aggravated cases where you could say the child itself is facing violence of a great degree, then we have the other options where the child can be placed in the custody of the Child Welfare Committee, which is there in every district. These committees are formed under the Juvenile Justice Act, and the Child Welfare Committee has the exclusive jurisdiction to deal with a child who they feel is not being looked after appropriately and requires assistance. So, if such a situation arises regarding a child because of the domestic violence within a family, then we always have this legal option of placing that child in the hands of the Child Welfare Committee, who will decide whether to institutionalize that child, whether to send him to some shelter home, or the situation can be dealt with in some other way. Next, please, Dr. Afzal, if there is any
Thank you,
other
sir.
query.
Yes, sir. We have one more question from Sylvia.
Yes,
Do
please.
you think that, sir, do you think that the gender process until now was volatile on all its coordinates, or the pandemic is totally to blame for the regress of gender partnership for equality? Because we already knew that strategic objective regarding gender equality were not totally achieved worldwide.
Yes, the observation made is very correct. See, the object of gender equality was nowhere near being achieved even before the pandemic. We have seen glaring examples. There have been so many, you know, examples at the international level, right from top to bottom, where we were reminded that yes, gender equality is still a matter which is too far off. There has been debate in our own country regarding to what extent role is to be provided to the ladies in the armed forces. When the ladies are willing to take the risk and they are willing to face all the hardships that are involved in a frontline battle, still we have people who deny it and who say that no, it is not appropriate for them to go there. So there are so many other facets of this problem. It is right, the observation is correctly made by the learned participant that achieving of gender equality was a naughty question even before the arrival of the pandemic. But with the arrival of the pandemic and the distress that followed in its wake, there was a spurt, there was an increase in the cases of domestic violence, and it was a matter of concern for the authorities. And therefore, all the authorities, including the district legal services, got active and we tried to contain the damage being caused by the shadow pandemic to the extent possible. Yes, please, Dr. Afzal, any other
Thank you,
query?
sir. Yes, we have Surbi Rathor. Yes, participants, if you would like to ask something directly, you can just unmute your mic and tell something. Yes, Manoj Kumar Gupta, would you like to ask something?
Yes, sir. No, yes,
Yes,
sir.
Manoj,
I
please.
want to ask one thing,
Yes, please.
that always the women are considered and not the men. Sometimes there is fault of women and men is penalized. And I want to ask, what is the protection for the men if they are wrongly punished, and if the fault is of women but not the fault of men? Women again and again finds the fault of men, but sometimes it is reversed too, and today it happens.
Yes, Mr. Manoj Kumar Gupta, you are correct that I've already said it so many times during this program that there are cases where men are being victimized at the hand of the women. And if we talk about the protective measures that are in existence,
Yes.
I would resume in a minute. Please, I would take a break of a minute. Sorry for the interruption. I was saying that in case we talk about protection in the statute or the legislation, there is hardly any. Whenever we talk about the question of legislation on any issue, it is, supposedly the larger interest of the society that is supposedly considered by the legislators. And practically, we all know that how legislations come about. Most of them are motivated by populist agendas. So, given the condition of the politics as we are in now, we don't expect much sensitivity regarding these issues. But I would like to state here that in their working, the courts have evolved very practical ways and formulas. There has been a widespread concern in the judiciary at the district level, state level, as well as in the Honorable Apex Court that there are so many false complaints, there are so many false dowry cases that are filed by the ladies, and there is no substance in those matters. So increasingly, the tendency of the judiciary has been towards initially granting bail and then sifting the evidence brought on record very carefully to find out that whether the matter at hand is a genuine complaint of actual victimization of a lady, or it is just a vent being given to her frustration and both the parties are suffering equally. So this is how practically the judiciary is trying to deal with these issues, given the fact that the legislations lean towards, presuming the fact that yes, lady is victimized. And I would also simultaneously stress here that we cannot say that these legislations are unjustified. As we have already talked, there are vast sections and swathes of society where violence is actually an issue, and reaching out to those sections and providing them effective relief is also a very uphill task. So existence of these women leaning laws is well justified, but at the same time the balance is tried to be achieved by the judiciary by dealing with these matters in a careful manner and trying to appreciate the evidence and to find out that what is the real truth in the matter. Yes, please. We would move on to the next question.
Sir,
Yes, please.
yes, thank you. Sir, basically, I want to know two things. First of all, how should we understand domestic violence in context of property dispute?
Okay, I got it. Domestic violence in the context of property disputes.
Yeah. And second question is is basically we usually matter domestic problem with someone's personal life. So how, as a youth, as a scholar, I can distinguish between between personal life and domestic violence.
Sorry, I did not get the later part of the question. I would request you that if you could send it in writing, then I will be able to respond to it. Meanwhile, I'll respond to the first part of your query, that is domestic violence in the context of property disputes. See, whenever the underlying cause is the property dispute, and domestic violence is caused because of that. See, underlying cause has to be there. it would be one or the other. Either it is the property dispute, or it is the general ego clash of the members of the family, or sometimes there are suspicions on the conduct of the spouse, or there are so many other things which one person in a family may feel objectionable in the other. So it hardly makes any difference that what is the underlying cause. The only point is that is to be seen while dealing with the matter in the context of a domestic violence dispute or a petition is that whether the person who has faced any violence, who has been victimized, is in a domestic relationship as defined in the Domestic Violence Act of 2005. We have the definition of domestic relationship there, and that broadly is that where people are living in a domestic setting in a common household, having a common shelter and common kitchen and all that. So if there is a domestic relation between the perpetrator of the violence and the victim, then the reason may be any. We are to consider it as a domestic violence and we are to proceed as required by the act if there is a petition. But again, coming back to the concept of mediation, when there is the underlying property dispute which has been the reason for the incidence of domestic violence, then both these matters, if there is a dispute regarding a civil dispute regarding the property, as well as there is a criminal proceeding regarding the domestic violence, it is best that in case these two disputes are brought into mediation and the settlement is tried to be achieved there. That puts an end to the litigation as well as it heals, the bruised psychologies of both the parties. And such a matter where property issue is the underlying cause, the chances of success of mediation are very high. Yes, please. Maybe move on to the next observation or the next query.
Sir, we have one query from Shekhar Chanda. How do you deal in case of men harassed by women in the family?
See, I have already referred to this issue upon question being raised by another participant, that we try to intervene in these matters in the legal services authorities by bringing about conciliation between the parties, by mediating and settling the dispute. There has been a direction by Honorable Supreme Court around the year 2013 that whenever there is a dispute, especially between husband and wife in a domestic setting, that matter can be dealt with in mediation, even if it is not pending before the court as a case in one form or another. Generally, it is only a case which is pending in the court which can come into mediation, and we try to mediate. But when there is a dispute between spouses in a domestic setting, those cases can be dealt with by legal services authorities directly under the purview of mediation. So this is one option that we take. And in case that matter is already there in the court, then obviously the normal route of reference to mediation is there. So this is how we try to, settle the matters where we find that the man is also genuinely aggrieved and he also has certain grievances which, require to be considered and weighed while dealing with the matter in the purview of law.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
We have a few questions from Dr. Urmita. So, Dr. Urmita, is it possible that you can please unmute your mic and ask your question? We have few questions from Dr. Urmita Chakraborty. Okay, she is asking, what is your opinion on gender equality across all parts of India? Is it applicable if we consider all segments of Indian society?
See, so far as the scope of the question, which is spread over all parts of India, I may not be able to opine readily regarding what is the situation across India. Pan India is something that a researcher could only know about if he has worked on the Pan India situation. I can more validly comment on the issue as it exists in the state of Punjab, because I've worked in at least 5 districts, 4 districts of the state of Punjab till now. As far as the Punjabi society is concerned, gender equality is quite an issue. It runs across all sections of the society, and both in rural as well as urban setting. I cannot clearly conclude that even where you have better education and you have a better financial and living status, there is lesser gender equality. That cannot be said on the basis of my experience. The gender disequality exists across all sections of the society in one form or the other, and it shows up in so many ways. It shows up in so many ways. If we take a simple example, that how many people go out to stroll in the morning or go to the grounds in the parks for a walk or running or exercise, you would see that the concern of the families is that the ladies or the girls, firstly, shouldn't go out alone. Secondly, if at all they go, then there are time restrictions. Then there are safety concerns. There are safety measures that are adopted. Everyone would advise that have a mobile phone with you readily available in case there is a distressing situation. Some are genuine concerns, and sometimes, not sometimes, most of the times, these are the engendered settings of the thinking of the people in a family setting. So there are so many other ways in which we can, just apply the test pen and find out that gender equality is quite an issue. So far as state of Punjab is concerned, I am of the view that this issue is in existence at all levels and across all areas and all sections of society. Yes, please.
Hello.
Any other question?
Hello.
Yes, Chandan Barik ji.
Yes, sir. Sir, good evening. This is Chandan Barik from Bhubaneswar, Odisha. Actually, my question is, what are the basic causes of creating domestic violence? Because nowadays, just we are seeing that the domestic violence, the disease, which are increasing day by day. Actually, what are the causes behind domestic violence in India?
So if we talk about the causes,
Yes, sir.
so far as my experience goes, the primary cause of domestic violence is the insensitivity. Even in our educational system, we may be imparting information which we pass off as knowledge. Very respectfully, information is not knowledge. We are creating qualified individuals who are not sensitized. And when we talk about the other section of the society which is lacking even in the basics of education, of basic facilities of life and living, there we cannot expect any sensitization. And it is very rarely that you find a person in that section of society. There are very few examples there also who are well sensitized about these issues. But I think that the society is collectively responsible for it. The settings in a household, the teachings that a parent gives to their child, the way in which the parents deal with their male and female children, the way in which they impart that sensitivity to a male child, how to respect the females, and to what extent such sensitivity and such balance reflects in the conduct of the parents and of the other family member. These all have a material bearing upon the child, especially the male child, who would develop into an adult and who would then, be categorized as a sensitive person or an insensitive person. So one is this, the domestic environment that the people receive in our society. Second is the education system, which is more information qualification based rather than inculcating values in an individual. I think this is where we are lacking and we need to work on.
Okay, sir, because Why I am asking this such type of question? Before some days, a DG personnel from Madhya Pradesh, actually he is beating to his wife. Okay, some issues I don't know about this matter. So I am worrying about this matter. Basically, from literate side, those who are literate in nowadays, they are doing a lot of activities. I mean, they are creating a lot of problems, basically from domestic violence. That is why I'm asking. Okay, sir.
Yes. Yes, there is no denying the fact that there are not many people in the literate section of society who are well educated, who are aware about this, who are sensitized,
Yes,
and
sir.
they
Yes,
are.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But there are not many examples on the other side also. Just to cite one example, I recently met a family where a person has been for the interview in the NDA
Yes, sir.
in the army, and he had been through that process of 5 days or whatever number of days it is there. He has cleared the initial screening, and he narrated an experience that during those, the initial 5 process that he had, uh, the people who were managing there, one of them asked this particular candidate that supposing there is an issue on which you need to talk to your wife, and uh, you need to solve that issue. There is some issue between you and your wife. How would you go about that? So his natural reply was that yes, I will, call her and I will talk to her and I will, dwell upon all the points of the conflict involved. So the interviewer insisted that if despite that the wife is not ready to understand, what will you do? So as a man of letters and words and knowledge, he said that yes, I will try again and I will try to reason it out with her. And if I will do it in a best way, there is no reason why she should not understand. But the interviewer again insisted that supposing she is not understanding, and he kept sticking to that position that I will keep trying. So ultimately, when he came back from there, he was discussing this issue amongst some of the members of his family. So there was one elder who said that you were trying to, get into the army, and you should have exhibited some army-like traits. So what army-like traits? The elder advised that you should have responded to the interviewer that if despite all my repeated efforts, my wife is not understanding me, then I will slap her and tell her that this is how it is going to be, whether you like it or not. So I don't know whether you would like that or not. I hope many of you won't like that. So even if you are going for army, that should not be the conduct. That matter remained in my mind for a long time. And ultimately, how I reasoned out, I felt that the interviewer was not expecting this answer. You don't take people into army on the basis that they should be violently oriented, or they should be, having a mentality of suppressing their wives. What I reason out is that the interviewer expected this, that if despite my efforts and repeated, trying, the matter is not getting through, the wife is not agreeing with me, I would reflect whether my position is correct. I would try to think out whether what I am saying is wrong. So there is a possibility of that also. I suppose the interviewer was finding this answer to know whether this person is deserving of being an army officer. Because there may be a situation where the juniors may be resisting what the senior is saying. And I think every senior has this responsibility of finding out that in case all the juniors are not agreeing with me and they are resisting the position that I am taking, maybe there is something faulty in my reasoning. So I think this was the quality of leadership that that interviewer was trying to find in that person. And in the family settings, in the domestic settings, the issue of domestic violence that we are talking about, here again, our society is one where the males are in the lead of the family and they are supposed to be head of the family, they're supposed to be leading the family. And in my view, a true leader is that who can appreciate the views of others and who can accommodate and who can empathize with the position of the others as well. Getting into a violent conduct can never be a solution to anything. And a leader, especially a person who supposes to head a family, he should have more of an accommodative attitude, and violence on his part should never be an option to be exercised.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, please.
We have last question from Uddeshya. How can we separate domestic violence from personal life? How can we separate domestic violence from personal life?
I could not really get the import of the question, that how to separate domestic violence from.
Yes, exactly. The question is,
Sir, agree.
जी
सर ऐसे कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि झूठे मतलब ये मेरी पर्सनल लाइफ है, मैं चाहे जो करूँ, तुम कौन होते हो बोलने वाले। तो मेरे कहने का मतलब ये है कि कुछ लोग बस का बहाना दे के डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस शादी करते हैं। तो ऐसी सिचुएशन में हम डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस और पर्सनल लाइफ को कैसे अलग करके लोगों को समझा सकते हैं।
Sorry, Mr. Odesha Singh, very respectfully, I have not been able to understand what you're trying to put across. I think it would be good that if you pen down your query, and I would ask Dr. Afzal that please send it to me. I'll share my contact number with you.
Yes, sure. Yes, dear participants, if due to some shortage of time, it might be possible that it is not, it's very difficult to cover all the queries in a very short span of time. So it might be possible that it will not be covered. So if you have any query, and then you can just text me, or I'll just provide you the email ID of Mr. Japinder Singh, and then you can communicate with him. No issue. We have one more participant from New York, Sylvia. I think she would like to ask something. So Sylvia, is it possible that you can please unmute your mic? She is from New York. She would like to ask something.
Excuse me.
Yes, hello. Do you hear me?
Yes, Sylvia. Yes, Sylvia,
Okay.
please.
Okay, I would like to know whether you think that the way or the fact that domestic violence is so spread all around the world is just a question of the way people deal with masculinity, because it doesn't matter the culture you come from or the education level you have, or the way you access the economic resources. All around the world we encounter high levels of domestic violence. So do you think masculinity may be a problem, or the way we deal with it?
See, to say it specifically in a way that masculinity is the culprit, masculinity may have so many shades, but the one shade of masculinity which tries to impose itself on femininity, I think that is surely to be blamed. But there may be so many other aspects of masculinity. It may be associated with physical prowess and doing of physical activities which require a large amount of power. So it is not necessarily that every person, every male who is physically strong would be a perpetrator of domestic violence. But yes, the masculinity, which is, you could say, a distorted or a misguided masculinity, which which seeks pride in the fact that yes, I can impose myself on femininity, on the females in the community. That aspect of masculinity can surely be held to be the culprit of the phenomenon of domestic violence, which, as you have rightly said, exists across all sections, irrespective of the level of education or the financial or the living of or the standard of living.
Okay, thank you, sir. I'm asking that because For my example, I'm an officer in the army, and we are not being taught masculinity, which it doesn't mean that we are more violent than other people, but I see that violence is quite um, uh, very encountered in families where other threats should be taught for the ones that you are living in. So it's quite odd that.
Yes, yes, it's quite acceptable what you're putting across.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ji. Welcome.
Thank you, sir. So now I would like to invite one of our coordinator, Dr. Neetu Sood. Please provide some, vote of thanks to the participants. Dr. Neetu Sood, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Afzal. I would like to thanks Mr. Jupinder Singh ji for the valuable talk. Such an informative session we had with him. And the first of word of thanks goes to our worthy director, Sir Dr. Lalit Kumar Avasti, for giving us this opportunity to organize this online STC under his guidance. Definitely, it is privilege for us to hold such STC. I would also like to give my sincere thanks to all the speakers, Dr. Bindu Bhamba from University of Hyderabad, Dr. Pamita Vasti from NIT Hamirpur, Dr. Juhi Garg from UPES Dehradun, Dr. Rajesh Gill from Punjab University Regional Center Ludhiana, and Mr. Japinder Singh, who is working as a District Legal Service Authority at Jalandhar Station. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to thank all the speakers for their guidance and for such a valuable sessions with us, which are encouraging all the participants worldwide. In fact, we have seen that we have many participants from many other countries also who are facing the same challenging problems. And then I would also like to extend my thanks to our President of the Women's Cell, Dr. Mamta Khosla, to encourage the whole team to organize or to conduct this course. Also, my special thanks to Dr. Halim Daya, one of the team member of Women's Cell. She's been really in touch with all the speakers, and she's been arranging all the speakers for us. As a coordinator, special thanks goes to Dr. Afzal for holding all the sessions and motivating us, and for all the untiring efforts he has put into to organize this course. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants from within India and outside India to make this event possible for us, for all the enthusiasm that they have shown while going on, or while all the sessions were going on, and asking so many relevant questions which could clear the queries of other participants also. So with this, I would like to give this charge to Dr. Afzal for showing some more clips on this session. Mr. Afzal, you can now proceed for that.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much for your kind words. So here we come to the end of 1 week short-term course on gender equality and violence against women during COVID-19, sponsored by TCube Third and organized by Women's Cell NIT Jalandhar. I'm happy to share with you that total 611 participants have been registered in this course, and not only from India, from abroad also. So I think on behalf of NIT Jalandhar, I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the eminent speakers who have spared time from their busy schedule and share their knowledge with us. No doubt the whole credit goes to all the participants. Without their participation, this could not be possible. Therefore, I also thank to all the participants who actively participated in this course. I hope the input from this STC will act as a motivation for all those who are working or seeking their careers in the related field. So with these words, I wish you all the best. I wish, if it is possible, then that the participant must share their experience. 1 or 2 participants at least, related to this course, so that there will be a possibility of improvement in the future. Any participant, would you like to say something, please?
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Yes, Chandan ji.
Yes, sir. Actually, I am thankful to the organizer for choosing such a nice topic, because this topic is very much important in future, because day by day we are seeing that this type of domestic violence are creating in every family of the world, not only in India but in the world. And due to coronavirus, as our financial system has been deteriorated day by day, so this topic is very much relevant, and these things will be definitely will learn something how to survive or how to aware or how to away from this domestic violence in future. So definitely this will be helpful in our family, in our career, and in our future. So really, I am thankful to the organizer and speakers and all the resource person and my co-participant. Thank you, everybody, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Good
Yes,
evening.
any
Dr.
other?
Afzal, Dr. Afzal, we were planning to share some video as we were talking today in
Yes,
the
ma'am. Yes,
morning.
ma'am. It is on the way.
Have you shared the link for that video?
It is on the way, ma'am. I am just sharing.
Okay. I would
Yes,
like
any other
all the
participant? Would you
request
like
all
to
the
say something?
participants.
Yes, I would like to say,
Yes, Nitya.
yes, first of all, a very good evening to everyone gathered here. Well, I just want to share that it was really informative means the session. That means because it was a topic that was means no one put much interest or much attention to such topics. First of all, okay, and we took up means you actually those speakers and you sir, especially Afsal sir and all participants who were included in this. So you all put it together. It's an interest to that. That was really so amazing, and yeah, of course, it was very informative for me. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you. You're welcome, Nitya. Thank you so much for your kind words. We have Mary Adetla from Nigeria. Would you like to say something, Mary?
Hello, sir. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentations. It was quite informative, very educative, well organized. STC. The speakers were really seasoned and they were able to really deal with the topics properly. And I really learned a lot. I mean, within the space of time. And specifically, I want to just reiterate what I got. While Dr. Rajesh Gill was giving a presentation yesterday, she gave a counsel and she said, when you look at something as a problem, that is when you will look for the solution. You know, when talking about the issue of domestic violence against women during the COVID-19, when we actually see this, you know, as a problem, then we'll be able to look for, you know, the way out, the solution. And I also want to appreciate Mr. Jafinda Singh, who actually dealt with the topic of domestic violence against women from the perspective of the judiciary. It was quite, you know, very, very informative. I really learned a lot. And part of the things I learned is that there is a need to sensitize the society so that such issues do not arise. And I saw that, of course, there can be a number of underlying, you know, causes for domestic violence, irrespective of the level of education or the economic situation. So I actually am able to come up with that truly there is need for that sensitization, there is need for that education. Thank you so much, Dr. Afzal sir, for, you know, organizing this STC. Thank you to all the organizers, the coordinators, the participants. Thanks to all the eminent speakers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you so
Sir.
much for your kind words. Dear participants, thanks once again. E-certificate will be provided to all the registered participants, you know, after verification of their attendance. So don't worry about it. And it's all right if you have, you know, missed one or two feedback, but obviously you should not miss all the feedback. So don't worry about it. I hope it should not be the ending. It will be the beginning of our career, of our, you know, field of your research. I have one more important announcement that I would like to add here is that we have Uddeshya Singh as a participant from Hindu College, Delhi University. It is really appreciated that he had made one short film named as Faisla, which highlights multiple issues like domestic violence, female suicide, and positive messages, etc. So I request you all, please watch it, and the link is provided in the check box, as well as the link for the feedback form is also provided in the check box shortly. Thank you all once again.